All right, today I'm going to tell you a story about botany, and we're going to do a dissection of a flower, which I thought would be perfect for springtime. Before we get started on the dissection of this flower, I would like to tell you about plants. Did you know how important they are? Without plants, animals would not exist. Plants are the basis of the food chain. A long, long time ago, when the Earth was a fiery planet of volcanoes and oceans, and the air was too toxic for plants to exist outside of the ocean, algae and seaweed in the oceans used carbon dioxide and water through the process of making their own food, and they gave off oxygen. And very, very slowly, there was more and more oxygen in the air, and at higher levels in the Earth's atmosphere. And the oxygen atoms became groups of 3, or O3, which is an element called ozone. This formed what we now know as the ozone layer. It acted like a shield around the Earth and filtered out the harmful rays of the sun. Finally, about 350 years ago, 350 million years ago, the very first plants that existed outside of the water were the lichens. They used little carbon dioxide that was left in the air, and they produced even more oxygen. The lichens were very beneficial in breaking down the minerals in the rocks and turning it into soil. Each lichen would spend its energy and die, and a new lichen would grow on the soil of the old plant. This continued until there was enough soil for other plants to grow. The lichen's cosmic task seemed to say, I give my life, I give my energy as a contribution to the life that will come after me and that will be better than mine. This paved a way for other plants to live on the soil. Eventually, there were huge forests and green, lush vegetation, which were perfect nourishment for the very first animals. Life on Earth was made possible by these first plants. About 150 million years ago, after the first lichens grew outside of the ocean, the first flowering plants probably appeared. Today, we are going to dissect a lily. Botany is a branch of biology, which is the study of plant life. Zoology is the study of animal life. Botany is a study of plant life. There are many, many different types of flowers. The flower is actually the reproductive organ of the plant. The flower is really the inside part minus the beautiful seeds and the beautiful petals. The flower is really this inside part. There are many flowers with no petals, which are still called flowers. An example is a grass flower. The beautiful scent and the lovely petals that are there to attract pollinators, bees, butterflies, insects, they are only there to attract them. Not all plants have flowers. Flowers are kind of like a specialized leaf. Today, we are going to look at this flower. The flower serves a very important purpose of reproducing the plant. Let's start with the petals. The petals are called the corolla. They call out to insects to visit the reproducing plant. They say, come on over and visit my plant. And when the insects come to visit the flower, the insects alight on the petals. And each of these bumps down the sides, you can see the bumps. These bumps guide the insects to the middle of the flower and toward the sweet nectar. I'm going to take off the petals now. Each petal is a portion of the corolla. Corolla means crown. This is what we have left. Let me show you the petals. There they are. And you can see that they are now like a crown. Without the corolla though, now we can see the actual flower. What the actual flower is this part of the flower. This part is the actual flower. Without the corolla, you can see the actual flower. The thickness that you feel at the bottom, right in here, that thickness is called the ovary of the flower. Each of these are the stamens of the flower. They're the male part of the flower. Let me just pull off one of the male parts of the flower here. This part that I'm pointing to with my nail is the anther. It holds on to all of the pollen grains, and each pollen grain holds sperms that will fertilize the ovules in the ovary. This stem-like part is called the filament. So this is called a stamen. It's the male part of the flower. This part at the top is called the anther. It holds the pollen grains, and each pollen grain holds little tiny sperms which will fertilize the ovules in the ovary. And the stem-like part is called the filament.